let's call the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets meeting to order of May 13th, 2025. Roll call.
Bill's here.
Marshall here.
Guzikowski here.
Zarnecki here.
Seifert here.
Segal here.
Okay. Approval of minutes of last month, 4/8 of 25. Anyone notice any changes or corrections that need to be made?
Item number
And on the flip side, Bob,
five. And the online one that I printed out, I think it goes
Have a
December 31, 2023, comma, seconded by R.
oh, there's some verbiage missed in between that. The actual,
Who made the motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Okay.
makes sense to you, Bob? We're
It
good?
does.
All
Never
right.
mind.
We good
Read it
now?
too quick. All good.
Thanks for checking.
Segali will move to approve.
Marshall will second.
Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Segali, aye.
Number 4, review of common council actions related to public work.
Yeah, thank you. I'll go ahead. Just 2 quick items for your consideration. I'm glad that both of our Matts are here to elaborate on anything that I might miss. But at the May 6th council meeting, council approved the purchase of playground equipment and safety surfacing for the Abendschein Beer Garden Playground through a purchasing agreement. So that's our latest update with the beer garden. And again, Matt can elaborate if there's anything else I'm missing there. And then also on April 15th, council awarded the Public Works and Utility Facilities and Space Needs Assessment to Caney Architects. So if you aren't aware, that's part of the strategic action plan to consolidate the 2 facilities to build capacity in the organization. So I hope I hit those on the head. I can elaborate if there's anything that I missed.
Thank you.
Good.
Nice.
Is that a 5-year deal, Kurt? 3, I believe. 3?
Thanks for doing it. For this. You bet. Anything else? Any questions for anyone? Nothing? Thank you. Number 5, consider a motion to purchase a steel wrist X18 tilt rotor from Steel Wrist Inc. in the amount of $56,752.50.
Yes, thank you. So this was part of the 2025 CIP budget. We had budgeted $60,000 for this purchase. It's really going to provide really our ditching crew and culvert replacement crew the ability to more easily maneuver when they're, especially when they're on roadside, and they can really basically, it's an attachment that can move more or less like a wrist as opposed to just straight away as a normal shovel, if you will. So it'll basically allow them to not have to move around as much to get all their perfect angles, and so the less moving of the machines. They don't have to bring the riggers up, put them back down. So it should save quite a bit of time that way. And then also if we do need to switch over to a grapple or some other attachment, that can be done basically in seconds, not minutes at best, as opposed to bringing it back to the shop, and it takes a couple of hours to do that. So this will allow them to work a lot more quickly and efficiently, and it should be a little bit safer too, as far as not having to close as much of a lane down, and less kind of moving back and forth again along the roadside. So we did seek 2 quotes for this purchase, one from Fabic Cat and the other from Steel Wrist. Steel Wrist came in quite a bit lower for essentially the same equipment, and they were at $56,752.50, which did come within the budget that we had that was adopted.
Okay.
Any comments or questions?
Nope, good news.
Then we need a motion.
Marshall moves to approve the purchase of Steel Wrist X18 from Steel Wrist Incorporated in the amount of $56,750.
Gill, second.
Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnacki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Awesome. Number 6, consider a motion to authorize the utility engineer to approve a change order number 1 with AW Oaks and Sons on the Butte Liberty Water Relay Project in the amount of $17,500.
So this change order is supporting the Butte and Liberty roundabout construction that's going to be going on. It was moving a bit of water main out of the way of some storm sewer. The water main that is being moved is 16-inch. That's our trigger. Anything 12-inch or larger than 12-inch needs to be filled when it's abandoned so that it doesn't collapse in the future and cause a sinkhole. That wasn't in the original contract. That's what this is for. So adding lightweight concrete or elasticity product to that.
If no questions, we have a motion.
Gill, move to authorize the utility engineer to approve change order number 1 with AW Oaks and Sun Inc. on the Butte Liberty Water Relay Project in the amount of $17,500.
Marshall, second.
Roll call.
Gill is aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnacki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Okay. Number 7, consider a motion to authorize utility engineer to approve change order number 1 with DK Contractors on the Abendschein Park Water Extension Project with a credit of $11,550.
So this project is ongoing at the moment, construction project, and the contractor was going to put in, there's a couple of hydrants, they were going to put in a hydrant model that, while allowed in our spec, we've had numerous problems with and are in the process of pulling it out of the spec. So we said, hey, how about if we supply the hydrants and you install them? This is then a credit memo or a credit change order for that. We're supplying the couple of hydrants, and they aren't.
Makes sense to me. Good idea. Any comments or questions? And motion.
Gill, move to authorize the utility engineer to approve change order number 1 with the DK Contractors in the Abendschein Park Water Extension Project with a credit of $11,550.
Sigali, second.
Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnacki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Okay. Number 8, consider a motion to enter into agreement with Fiberglass Solutions LLC for purchase of a replacement potassium permanganate tank. I'm not sure that's right. In the amount of $9,577.
So this tank is used to hold our, if you will, day's worth, or we consider it a day tank. It's a storage tank, mixing tank for our potassium permanganate that we then feed out through the intake to disturb zebra mussel building, but it also provides some early oxidation for us, colonization of zebra mussels, I should say, but provides some early oxidation for us. It really is a valuable process. The tank's been there since 2011, and like a lot of our tanks, they're flaking off and they're starting to clog the pumps and things. It's definitely time to replace this tank for sure. Went out and got a number of quotes on that, and this happens to be the lowest qualified bidder. They're out of Green Bay, so they're relatively close. The difference between the recommendation and the list of quotes on the bottom is a $400 shipping. We just added that in. We don't know the exact number of that yet. So. And staff will do the install of the tank.
Well, that seems reasonable.
That's common, Mike. The insides of these things degrade over time?
Yeah, our sodium hypochlorite tanks, the same thing's happening to it. Yeah, those only last about 10 years or so, and yeah, either have to line them or replace them. I would say the coagulant tanks are doing very well. That's a little less aggressive chemical. Quite honestly, the fluoride tanks they're original. They're fantastic.
Any comments or questions?
I'm good, Goose.
Okay. Then, motion.
You'll move to enter an agreement with Fiberglass Solutions LLC for the purchase of a replacement potassium permanganate tank in the amount of $9,577.
Roll call.
Keel, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Bernacki, aye.
All right. Number 9, consider a motion to award the Sharon Drive Water Looping Project to the lowest responsible bidder, Wanasek Group, based on a bid amount of $52,955.
So this is a relatively small project. It's closing about a 300-foot gap in water main now on Sharon Drive. It would be Sharon Drive extended, just north of Buttes, east of Pennsylvania. The project was approved for special assessment at May 6th meeting of the Common Council. This is then the award of the project. We did have bids received a couple of weeks ago now, and we are waiting for that special assessment to get approved. Now that it's approved, we can award the contract, and Wanasek was the lowest.
Anything?
Our estimate was, what turned out to be the difference?
The bidding climate, quite honestly, it's doing a whole lot better than we thought it would by having the multiple contractors in here. Really, it's helping. I mean, we were going through a time when the water main and sewer construction was going up so fast and so hard. It was really difficult to pick an estimate. So we're kind of living off of that higher cost frame. It's starting to come down a little bit as work slows down and the contractors are getting more competitive. Yes, you are correct, sir.
Any other comments or questions or concerns? Then we need a motion.
Marshall will move to award the Sharon Drive Water Looping Project to the lowest responsible bidder, the Wanasek Group, based on the bid amount of $52,955.
Valley second.
Roll call.
Keel's aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Bernacki, aye.
Scully, aye.
Alrighty, number 10, consider a motion to award the sanitary rehab project to the lowest responsible bidder, Visu Sewer Inc., based upon the bid amount of $487,388 and amend the 2025 capital improvement budget $275,000.
There's a difference. So this project
I have
is,
a question on that one too.
you might consider kind of a continuation of our sewer rehab work that we've been doing over the last 5 years or so. It's been in the $400,000 to $700,000 range each year. This year we thought we were going to back off on that a little bit. It seems like a lot of the critical sewer maintenance has been done. Obviously, there's things deteriorating and we need to tackle, but maybe not as aggressively as we have in the past. So we focused on the sewer around Avonshine Park and the ball field this year. After doing some work with the subdivision that's coming in and investigating and inspecting that work, wow, they're in tough shape. There's a 30-inch sewer in there that's in really tough shape, needs to be lined. That's when we decided to focus the rehab work on that. Because of the cost of that work, that's the reason why it has gone up so much. So it's just different work. We have sort of a generic, I think we had, $250,000. We thought, well, we'll do some lining and spot repair. And then when we focused on this project, it became more and more involved. We knew that, but instead of trying to piecemeal that over the next couple of years, we thought, let's just knock it out and get it done.
So this is a situation where you don't feel you're being gouged?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, definitely not. Do I think the prices just feel way too darn high? Yeah, I joked around, there's a roofing project we got going too, not that it matters, but I said, all right, on a weekend, 10 grand, come on guys, let's go knock out this roof and get it done. And I said the weekend after that, we're gonna line 30-inch sewer, because it is a high price for sure. But that's what the market is right now. And there's reinforcing that's exposed within that concrete main. It's not something we can afford to put off. The manhole and the main itself, I think there's an 18-inch sewer as well, same thing.
But do we know that it was this, obviously we didn't know this was in as dire shape as it is.
Correct. We didn't, it has progressed a lot since the last time we videoed that line. And the manhole, we didn't get good images on when we inspected it compared to what we can see now. Now that the work was done for the Stonegate subdivision that's going in, because they're connecting near that manhole, caused us to go in there and take a closer look at it, and that's when we found this.
And from your standpoint, there's little to no point in re-examining this next year's bidding cycle.
No, we don't think so. We think that we're concerned with the work that's being done there, but we also want to get the work done before the subdivision connects, so we don't have to dig up the ball field twice. So we can hopefully get it all done at one time. These manholes are right in the middle of right field.
Nice. The right field has been a problem since. That had drainage problems.
Well, it used to be an old wastewater treatment facility.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, they had lagoons out there, and
Really?
got taken over in mid 70s.
It was MMSD or who?
No, it was. Well, that's a great question. It wasn't MMSD. It wasn't us. We didn't operate it as well, but it was run as kind of so maybe a neighborhood wastewater,
Local?
if you want to call it that. Yeah, local. Yeah, we didn't have that I'm aware of any operation.
So there was a
going on
local
over
water well there too, probably, or not?
there. No, I don't remember anything about a well being in there.
But
There's
it's local sewer.
definitely wastewater, and that's why when MMSD came, they put their interceptor from there running off to the north from there. So our mains and the 30-inch, our mains tie in at that location. The reason why they converge there in the middle of the park is because that's where the treatment facility is. Yeah, it is.
All right. Does Kurt, you want to shed any wisdom here? But he's ready to rock in a hard place.
Oh, when you get to the size, it just goes up exponentially. It'd been nice to have more than one bid, but can't control who.
Yeah, Business Sewer seems to be our go-to. So, but there's very few other options.
There aren't
right?
a lot that do it now.
All right, I'm good.
Good? Everyone's good? Motion?
Gail move to award the sanitary rehab project to the lowest responsible bidder, Business Sewer Inc., based in the bid amount of $487,388, and amend the 2025 capital improvement budget $275,000.
Zarnecki will second.
Roll call.
Gail, aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Alrighty, number 11, consider a motion to award the Ryan Road at Shepherd Avenue, water relay project to the lowest responsible bidder, IHC Construction Companies LLC, based upon the bid amount of $331 and $330,111.
So this project is moving some water main out of the way of the DOT project that's going to be working on that intersection. And they want to put a signal base pretty much right where our water main is. Get that out of their way. That's what this project is all about. It's a lot of money, but it is what it is. We think the prices are fair and reasonable. It's just a lot of money to get out of it. It is what it is. Got a few bidders on that. The bids all came in relatively close together. So yeah, we do know we have a good number there and just need to move on with it. It was a budgeted project.
state doesn't cooperate with conflicts like this?
No. No, they do not. On the freeway, we'd get some cost sharing, but not on the local. Just gotta get out of their way. If we were in an easement and they were requiring right of way, then we've got some leg to stand on, but when we're out in the road right of way, no, we just have to get out of their way. Kinda like the Putes and Liberty roundabout. Gotta get the stuff out of the way.
Any comments or questions? In motion.
Marshall move to award the Ryan Road and Shepherd Avenue Water Relay Project to the lowest responsible bidder, IHC Construction Companies LLC, based on the bid amount of $331,111.
Gale,
I'll
second.
second.
Any roll call?
Gale, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnicki, aye.
Scully, aye.
All righty, number 12, consider a motion to approve utility vouchers in the amount of $2,445,866.30.
So the total's a little high this time. It's not particularly out of the usual. Brian's starting to spend some of the construction money out there, so we're seeing that reflected in here. And then, of course, the sewer cleaner truck at almost $600,000.
Comments or questions, anyone?
What page? Oh, okay. Okay, so the reason why is if you look over to the right, it's coded to two different accounts. So you could have pumping maintenance, you could have treatment maintenance, you could have, it actually gets quite detailed, but that's the reason why is they need to split that into a couple of different accounts.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have a question about the sewer hydro evacuator
Yeah.
truck. For $593,000?
Hmm?
Where's the cost?
And if you want to hear a fun story, we had it for about 2 days. It got towed out of our garage. So there's that. Yeah, we don't have it right now. We operated it for a day. Now it doesn't start, and they don't know exactly what's wrong with it. New vehicles. Yeah, $600,000 for a sewer cleaning machine. We keep calling it a Vacon. That's a product name, and that's not the one we have now. But yeah, it's a lot of money. I think our camera truck is like $375,000. Stuff is really, and it took well over a year to get that truck.
No, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And our other one, we've been using, but we've been clearing codes ourselves because the codes keep coming up. We've had it in Cummins numerous times. They can't seem to find the problem. So it is absolutely on its last leg. But we gotta keep cleaning. And he's getting nervous because he's fallen behind on his cleaning.
Any other comments or questions? Then do we have a motion for 12?
Marshall move to approve the utility vouchers in the amount of $2,445,866.30.
Gale seconds.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnicki, aye.
Scully, aye.
Alrighty, number 13, administrative and operations reports.
But I don't really have much to draw your attention to, except that the year is starting out kind of poor compared to next year in both pumped water and sales of water. We're hoping we get a little bit of a dry spell here coming up, but we can see from the admin report that largely that's likely due to less growth that we've had in the past number of quarters for sure. I mentioned the sewer machine. I did want to talk about that a little bit. That's about it.
Thank you for the information. Any comments or questions?
At a lift station, I thought we were working to get rid of those lift stations, and I see we still have another one here on Garden Place.
So Garden Place is a sewer lift station. We think we may have a 20-year in the future chance of getting rid of that, but we're going to have it for a while before that comes to fruition. Drexel Avenue is a storm lift station, so that we just sort of monitor for the storm side of things. That one's getting replaced. Mid-City's doing the work on that. So yeah, we still have a few. Clement lift station, sanitary lift station will be there forever. There is no solution. Garden, there's a hope, and we only have 2 sanitary lift stations.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Alrighty. Let's move on to 14. Consider a motion to approve the installation of pedestrian crossing improvements at the intersection of South Shepherd Avenue and Stonegate Drive.
Morning, board members. Andrew Ledger, design engineer. Engineering received a request for improved pedestrian crossing at Stonegate and Shepherd Avenue. Currently, there is no crossing marked at that location. It's making it difficult for people that are in the Stonegate subdivision to cross the street to utilize that path on the west side of Shepherd Avenue. There's a couple of exhibits attached in your packet, kind of showing what engineering is proposing conceptually for improvements there. Once that work would be complete and that crossing would be marked, that would provide those residents with a legal crosswalk to cross there, which would require all traffic to yield to them.
Good idea. Good idea.
Andrew, so I can assume from these pictures, we'll be doing some improvements to the sidewalk and ramps to the street there?
That's correct, yes.
And that's on the city's dime?
Yes.
Any feel for what that's gonna cost?
Typically, you're looking at probably between $15,000 and $20,000 for that type of work. We're looking at possibly partnering with DPW though, and to utilize some of our sidewalk funding that we have set aside already for that.
Any grant?
Something this small, it'd be unlikely that there would be anything, and I don't believe we have any crash history there, which typically drives some of those grant programs.
Stonegate, I assume, unsidewalked subdivision.
Yep, that's correct. What we're proposing here does match what's down at Shepherd and Centennial, so we'd be providing a similar access to the Stonegate
Subdivision's request? Requested it.
There was, we had one resident reached out to us initially, and we received another request from another resident.
Right now, there is no,
Yeah.
the little legs of that ramp that go east, they don't currently exist, right?
No, they don't. Correct. Yep, there's only a crosswalk to the north-south crosswalk there, and there's no marked crosswalk across the roadway. And given
That's strictly paint or
Yep,
whatever.
yes,
markings we
correct,
use, right?
yep. And there's no sidewalk on the east side, so there isn't technically a legal crosswalk that exists there. So cars aren't technically required to yield the right of way to people trying to get across. One of the things that drove this was with the bike blessing that was at the Legion 2 weekends ago, I believe that was. They were, there's a lot of traffic there, so when there's traffic with the Legion, that makes it a lot more difficult for people to get across there.
I can't imagine they're queuing up Stonegate across the road. Anyway.
Any other comments or questions?
See Rich and Sharon standing there waiting to.
Could be.
What? Why are you looking at me like that?
And we need a motion for 14.
So move to approve the installation of pedestrian crossing improvements at the intersection of South Shefford Avenue and East Stonegate Drive.
Marshall will second.
Roll call.
Dukniak Crossing, we'll call it.
Yes.
Make that amendment to the motion, though? ELI.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Mackey, aye.
All right. Number 15, consider a motion to recommend that the Common Council adopts ordinance number 3123, creating section 14.41, sub A, sub 19, in the amount of municipal code relating to parking in city-owned parks.
Good morning, Alderman Guzekowski and board members. I'm Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator, City Engineer. Before you is that ordinance to create parking regulations within city-owned parks and then some other roadways. You did receive a revised ordinance or draft of an ordinance that was worked through with our city attorney, police department, and other departments that would be integrated and working towards some of the solutions here. The driving issue here would be Lake Vista Park during several of our city events, private events, and actually, I mean, you could even go as far as some of the Northern Lights events that occur. It's a great viewing location, actually. I've been out there several times, but what we're finding out is several of the residents or people that visit the park do park along the roadway. This creates a safety issue. Since the roadway is only 24 feet wide, once you do have a parked vehicle there, it creates a narrower path for emergency vehicles if something were to happen. And then also during several of our events, our DPW goes down there to install temporary no parking signs. This takes several hours to days to install and remove. And then also along with the enforcement part, this was our best stab at it, I guess, if you want to say that. So the reason why the 3 roadways were pulled out is they aren't all encompassed within those boundaries of that city park. There are several thousand feet on each leg that are not within that boundary of Lake Vista Park that would create issues going forward. This also eliminates the need for signage throughout the park. That was one of our worries here, was installing several signs throughout the park and taking away from the aesthetic part of it. This would limit that and allow us to put one sign at the entrance of the parks, basically stating the ordinance and no parking within public ways or roadways, or only in designated areas, which will be marked. So Mike Sullivan did give us some of the comments, which we'll have to address with DPW on some of our parks, where we'll have to designate some of those areas, those being like Haas Park or Achen Park, and that will be done through paint marks, designate areas through that matter. But I'd be happy to answer any questions or work through any comments or concerns that we have on this ordinance as we move forward.
Do we have other problems parking in that area?
I mean, generally no, unless there's events and other things that happen out at Lake Vista. I know that for future reference, beer gardens or anything in Abendschein, in the past, people have parked on the entrance, which then makes it very difficult for any vehicle to get in and out of that park, along with some of the events, which are, I can't remember, the sporting events that happen over on the east side of Abendschein, cricket. There's several, there's several, vehicles that do attend on that area that can create some issues as far as the entrance areas. This would address those also.
Thank you.
At the, we have, is it, people commonly currently park along the roadway? Or are they generally all using the parking lot?
Typically, if there's space in the parking lots, they'll use those. But occasionally you'll find people that'll just pull over and park. Because there is no signage, there's no restrictions on that. So legally, they can park anywhere.
Or, just unintended consequences where you prohibit it in our parks where.
I mean, generally speaking, I don't believe it's an issue. I think it really gets down to our major events. And as we continue to, expand on those parks, granted, we don't have, I would say, sufficient enough parking for the events that create those safe passageways to get traffic in and out. I think that's our main concern here. This just addresses that point of not having to use additional resources to put up the temporary signs. I mean, there will be some educational and effort as we move forward, obviously, but with any other regulation that we have, that's part of it.
Yeah. No, things can be changed in the future too.
There are some pull-out parking lanes that are painted. Those are marked at this point with paint for parking spaces.
Right across from the
Yeah,
single housing.
there's just
It's a pull-out.
indents where you can
Yeah.
pull off.
It's
Yeah.
considered
And over by
the
the
pull-out,
beach.
and we might have to refreshen some of that paint. But with this ordinance, if it does go into effect by council, that will be one of our coordination efforts with DPW.
Unless it's specifically painted as a parking stall.
Generally, yes, it has to be designated based on this ordinance, marked and designated. I mean, designation usually is done through signage. I'd like to minimize that. And they should be, I mean, in theory, anything that has a pullout should have some form of marking to capitalize and be the most efficient parking we can have, so people aren't just parking in the middle spots. We'll have to work with our DPW, much like on some of our other city parks.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, generally speaking, there's only a couple events that drive traffic.
At this point,
Yeah.
I mean, as
have events down there, then it's not.
as the park expands, one of our key components is to try to address some of this parking issue, creating some additional parking as we expand and move forward in the future here. And that's one of our primary goals, because we do understand that there is a limited amount of parking for some of the events that we do have. And as these events do expand, and it seems like they are, not only through our public relations and our marketing and our other commissions, they're expanding of that. It can be more and more. That is our goal. And I mean, we will reach out to the apartments and other complexes along Breakwater. They tend to park outside of those parking pullouts, which is creating some other issues with, only providing 8 foot of travel lane, which is another issue. This will address that also.
Schedule. Talk to them.
If I have availability, I will.
Other questions or comments for number 15? Then we need a motion.
Marshall moved that Common Council. Marshall moves that the board recommend the Common Council adopt ordinance number 3123, creating section 10.41, subsection A, subsection 19 of the municipal code relating to parking in city-owned parks.
Hill, second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Bernacki, aye.
Legale, aye.
Rob.
Good. You good, everyone? Any other comments or questions?
Good.
You good?
We're good.
Motion to adjourn.
Hill moves to adjourn.
Legale, second.
There you go, Bobby. There you go.
Roll call.
Yeah. Hill's aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Bernacki, aye.
Legale, aye.